Morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio. I'm going to run over here to YouTube and just make sure that we are indeed live. My software says that I am, but I never quite trust it. So let's go see what's going on. Oh, yeah. You're good to go. Well, I hope everyone's having a great start to the month of November. It is the beginning of the end here at the studio. So we've hit our halfway point. For the rest of this semester, it's just downhill from here. Our kids have either 6 or 8 classes left, and that's it for our year. So we've got a lot to talk about of what happens around these winter holidays that are coming up, as well as what happens for the next semester. So we're going to go over all of that into housekeeping. But first things first, everybody has class this week. So regardless of your class, whether you're a 4-time a month class or a 3-time a month class, you all have class this week. So that's what that little graphic is saying. I need to move over. But I thought, there we go. I'm not sitting in the screen. Yeah, that's it. Easy peasy after everything that happened on an October schedule, right? I love that the month actually starts on a Monday. So everybody's class will be hearing the same message. It won't be like, and Tuesday's classes are doing this, but Wednesday's classes are doing that. We won't have that this month. It'll all be the same, which is wonderful for me and for you. All right, so preschool fundamentals. For our month of November, it's all about pattern and ink, and we're going to look at the art of Henry Matisse. We've got some books here. We're going to start with Ish. That'll be our first one for this week. It's a book by Peter H. Reynolds that follows a boy who is drawing and is frustrated because what he is drawing doesn't look like what he thinks it should look like. It doesn't look like a vase. It doesn't look like, and so he learns to draw Ish. So it may not be a vase, but it is vase-ish. So it's a really sweet book. So we're going to do that one. We're going to also play with some Sumi ink and start a project that will take us all 3 weeks. So the Sumi ink, by the way, is not a washable ink. So please make sure that you wear old clothes to the studio, your art clothes, your Orange Easel t-shirt, something that you don't care about getting something on because that Sumi ink is a permanent ink. Our K through 3rd grade artists. So for all our multimedia, it is ink month. We have finished clay month. We have finished chalk pastel month. We move on to ink month. And we're also going to be using Sumi ink. Our subject matter is animals. So this is a clip, like a summary of the art inspiration slideshow that they are going to look at that shows how different artists, these are all contemporary artists, use ink to draw. And so we're going to be doing ink drawing. We're actually going to use Sumi ink for our first layer, and then we'll move into microns. The subject and what the kids decide they want to make art about will be up to them. So they will pick their animal. We're going to practice drawing that animal, well, not that animal, but lots of animals, their animal plus more animals this week after we look at the slideshow. So they'll kind of get the idea of breaking things down into simple shapes or kind of learning how to compose a more complex, sorry. Okay, never mind. I was like, oh, that's Sarah. Make sure it's not an emergency out of Flat Woods. But they'll be breaking down those animals into manageable shapes and learning how to compose them and practicing and choosing their subject matter this week. We will start our project next week with the Sumi ink. This week they'll play with Sumi ink, look at the slideshow, and practice some drawing skills. For our 4th and 5th and homeschool multimedia classes, again, this is a kind of summary of their art inspiration slideshow that they're going to be looking at. Their ink project for the month of November is a contemporary travel poster. So we are going to be looking at vintage travel posters and noticing the kind of the flat style in those, the blockiness of them, the color blocking that happens, the simplification, the composition choices, that kind of stuff. We're going to play a little bit with alcohol markers because that's going to be our media. It's ink month, right? So alcohol ink markers are our media for this class. And learning how to use them and how they're different from regular markers. We're going to choose our subject, and I have printed a whole bunch of photos of different kind of famous travel landmarks. So they'll choose that. They'll find the main parts of it because we're going to simplify that design down in order to mimic these vintage posters. And then they'll begin sketching out their artwork on paper. Their finished art's going to be 9 by 12, matted in an 11 by 14-inch mat. For our 6th, 7th, and 8th, 12th grade multimedia people, we're also doing ink month. Theirs is a super detailed, super intricate drawing inspired by the art of one artist. So this is a contemporary artist, and I want to make sure I get their name right. It is Cam Wei Fong. And this artist uses teeny tiny little archival ink pens. We call them microns, but that's the brand name of an archival ink pen. So it's like when you say Kleenex, right? So it's Kleenex is the brand name, so are microns. But a lot of times in the studio, we just call them microns, whether we're using an actual micron brand or not. But the archival ink pens come in different widths. And so they come in kind of what you would think would be a fine point Sharpie width, all the way down to something that is, I mean, just hair thin. So super, super skinny. And this is done through teeny tiny marks, almost like stippling. There is some stippling in this drawing for your kids that are used to stippling or familiar with it from a drawing class, only this is done with little like hair strokes. And so we're going to be making these furry, fuzzy creatures. They will decide their creature. They're like this one down here is kind of tigerish. This one's kind of leopardish, right? A lot of them are very cat-ish, but it doesn't have to be just because the artist that we're looking at chooses that as their subject doesn't mean that our artists have to. So they'll choose their kind of their subject and then start to map that out. And then it'll be repetitive, super skinny fine lines for them. Their art is also 9 by 12 framed. So it's 9 by 12 on the paper, and then it goes in an 11 by 14-inch mat to finish. All right, so our creative explorations people, also a new month and some new stations. You can remember our creative explorations pulls from curriculum all over the studio and then sets everything up into station-based learning. So we've got our media focus, which is ink, just like our multimedia classes. And so they will have out Sumi ink and mark making tools. Please, please, please wear old clothes. Sumi ink is not a washable ink. They'll have the art history focus, which this month pulls from preschool, which is Henry Matisse. The journal invitation also pulls from Matisse, and it is painted paper plus collage. So if you are familiar with art history, Matisse late in life struggled with some health problems, and so he changed the way he made art because of that. It didn't stop him, but he painted papers, and then he cut them out and collaged them. He called it painting with scissors. And so this painted paper collage journal invitation is a nod to Henry Matisse. A collaborative vertical surface, we're going to be making a pattern quilt. So think Zentangles, which is a trademarked phrase, but Zentangles, so that kind of intricate pattern drawing, but in a quilt format. And then we've got a still life that we're pulling from drawing class. So this is actual fruit. So we'll get real fruit in the studio for our drawing classes to draw from. And so this is what our creative explorations will be using. And then, and I don't know, later in the month, if the fruit starts to get kind of gross, we'll switch it out, but I think it'll be okay. And then the fall scented Play-Doh, which is a kind of a classic here. It's like it's not very attractive to look at because it's brown, but boy does it smell good. It has a lot of nutmeg and cinnamon and cloves and it kind of a pumpkin pie spice, so it smells good. All right, for drawing 101, I gotta look at my notes for this because of course I wrote this last week and my memory. All right, so drawing 101, we kind of got an overarching theme of food for this month. And our first task is illustrating recipes. And so we're going to look at grocery store ads for ideas of ingredients that go into our recipes. And then we're going to be making pictorial instructions like on how you make a recipe. So it's a different way of illustrating and drawing and playing with kind of a whimsical, fun idea. So that's what's be going on in Drawing 101 class this week. In Drawing 102 class, so this is our realistic class first, they also kind of have a food theme going on. Our first week, we're going to be using colored pencils and working from photo images of vegetables. So we've got close-up images of garlic, bell peppers, onions. I think green onions are on there. I'm trying to think of some of the other vegetables. I think tomatoes are on there, which I know are technically a fruit, but we're going culinary vegetable. not scientific vegetables. So we have a whole bunch of pictures of vegetables that are close-ups, and then they will look at that and then render it in colored pencils. The goal is hyper realistic. So again, we're doing a lot of blending, a lot of layering of our colors. We're looking for shape, form, value, color, all that thing. In our 102 illustrative class, we're going to stretch out our style this month. And so we've done our, if you kind of think it through the year, we did our technical skills to start with line weight and value and color techniques, right? And those are ones we're going to apply through the whole year. And then we spent all of last month looking at our original character and our character, right? Every artist kind of has like a character or a set of characters that we're working on. Or if they don't, they're starting to. So we took our characters and we started to draw them. We kind of drilled down into heads and faces and being able to move them in space and dynamic poses. We looked at hair, we looked at clothing, we looked at hands, we looked at feet, some of the more challenging things about drawing an original character. So now that we have that under our belt, now we're going to start looking at style choices. And so we're going to look at living things and things that exist outside of our characters that influence the world. So we're going to start with fauna, which is your trees and your plants and your flowers and all of the, think plant life, right? But plant life, not just potted plants, but like things that grow outside as well. And there are a lot of different things, first of all, right? Different between a palm tree and an evergreen tree. But there's also a million different ways I can draw a palm tree and a million different ways I can draw an evergreen tree. If I'm in a realistic drawing class, there are fewer ways to draw it, right? Because we don't have those stylizing choices. But in an illustrative class, you do. So we're going to start exploring different styles and different ways to draw one object, hopefully to kind of stretch our artists a little bit and to find their own style and the way their world will look. All right, so we're going to do our natural world starting with fauna to begin with. In our 103 classes for the month of November, our realistic kiddos are going to be doing animal portraits with chalk pastels. This is a favorite. We did it last year as well. This year we're going to work a little bit bigger because one of the things we found last year with our super talented artists is most of them finished their animal portrait in 1 week. So we're not doing, we made them bigger this year. So I got some bigger paper and we're going to get our animal portraits. And I say animal, it could be a pet, like somebody from home. Like this is my dog and I'm going to draw Fluffy. Or it could be a stock image that we find because they want to draw a tiger, right? And I mean, maybe you have a pet tiger, or probably not. For our illustrative kiddos, we're going to be looking at the art of Roy Lichtenstein. And so this is an opportunity for us to explore pop art and onomatopoeia. That's the illustration of a word like bam, pow, boom. So their challenge will be a heavy graphic line weight, like one large word onomatopoeia. If they want to include characters, they can. But we're looking for speech bubbles or like some sort of graphic to go around it, as well as that bend-aid polka dot pattern that Lichtenstein uses. All right, housekeeping. This is where things get fun. All right, Thanksgiving schedule. Let's go over it, right? I have a calendar here that I need to scoot over. All right, so here is the month of November. We're right here. And this is where we find out that I could not be a weather person, right? So we're right here in the 3rd, and we've got 3 weeks of like normal classes. Like nothing changes. It's just 3 weeks of classes. Now, for anyone who's in a preschool fundamentals class or a creative explorations class, this works out perfect. You get your 3 classes in these orange weeks, and then we're done. We'll see you after Thanksgiving. But if you're in a 4-time-a-week class, so that's our drawing classes and our multimedia classes, we got to get you a 4th class in there. So on the 24th and on the 25th, we're going to have open studios. Our lessons and our curriculum for the month of November is designed that all the projects, multimedia people, I'm talking to you, 103 drawing people, I'm talking to you, it is designed that your projects can be finished in 3 weeks. If they're not, it's not a big deal. But the goal is that we finish your project and it goes home in this 3rd orange week right here. Okay. So that way, when you come to Open Studio, you can just have fun. Okay. Not that finishing projects isn't fun, but there are other fun things to do. If you're in a drawing class, again, we've got 3 weeks of lessons followed by what would typically be a wild card week. and that is still an option during your open studio, although nobody will pick it. So, um, so that's what's happening. All right. Now, the way the open studios work, we are here at both studios from 5 to 8, Monday and Tuesday night. Okay. And we're basically consolidating all of we don't usually have classes. We have a few classes on Wednesday, but and a few classes on Friday, 4 to 5 day classes, right? We're consolidating all of you guys into that time frame. And that's good for us because we know we're going to have light attendance on that day anyway. And so, from an efficiency point of view, if we can consolidate everybody and have fullish classes, it's more fun for everybody. And it's also more economical for me as a business owner, full transparency. So we have our evening open studio classes where you will sign up to come to a 1-hour session for your class, and that counts as your 4th class. Now, what are we going to do in open studio? Let me tell you. So the studio will be station based. We do splat paint. So we'll put up a big splat wall. For those of you who have been to a birthday party, you know what splat painting is. If you've never been to a birthday party, you're in for a treat. We're going to throw paint at the wall. We take lots of fun pictures. It's a time for community. We have stations set up. So the ink stations will be up for those artists who need to finish their project. The drawing materials will be out for those artists who want to do a wild card week. And then in addition to that, we usually have some just like instructor's choice stations. So the beading station's out, the collaging station is out. Trying to think sometimes we get out the felting because we do felting, but it's in April. But sometimes we'll dig it out of the closet in November because why not? So we try to get out some different things, maybe some of the things that we get out during summer camp, some of the things we only get out once a year. Maybe we'll get out the polymer clay. A lot of times we get out the shrinky dinks because that's a fun one and it's fun to make something to take home. So it's really up to the instructors that are working and the individual studios, but it will be station based. And there will be stations that are not just processed, but something that they can go in and they can sit down and they can make something to take home. And then we'll have splat painting for you. So that happens on the 24th and the 25th. And if you're like, Allison, that sounds like so much fun. However, I'm going to be out of town this entire week. That's okay. Because we've hopefully finished your project in these first 4 orange weeks. We finished your projects, we've finished your lessons. So there's no reason to make up this open studio. There's really no way to make it up. There's no way to if you want to come in and have some additional time to draw in your journal, like a wild card, if you want to come in and have some additional time to play with some ink, kind of like a wild card for multimedia, absolutely. But we won't set up a splat wall at makeups. That will not be an option. So there's really no makeup for this like open studio for Thanksgiving. Okay. So if you're out of town, don't worry about making it up. It's not a big deal. But if you are in town, we'd love to see you. If it's just a crazy week and you're like, I can't do one more thing, that's okay too. It's okay to skip it. It's all right. Now, for those of you that are like, we're in, that sounds like fun. Here's how you sign up. So attached to your email that you're going to be getting, the one that comes with this video, right? And I'll also post it in the private Facebook group, is this PDF that says here, sign up for this. Now, so last year, there was a lot of confusion because the link said sign up here. And then you click the link and this opens. And they're like, Allison, all it did was open a PDF. Yes, that was designed. Okay, this PDF has 12 links embedded in it. So each one of these blue buttons is a different link. And it's a link for the class. So I can't read it because it's too small on the screen, but each one of these little buttons has a date and time on it. And so you click the button and that's when it opens up the registration page. It's just easier for me to send one link to a PDF than me to send 12 links to you. So that's why. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know. Here we go. All right. Now we need to talk about spring semester registration. So your current registration expires at the end of October. This is why people are confused. At the end of December. At the end of December, nobody is signed up for classes anymore unless you physically go in and do it. You have to re-register. It does not carry over to 2026. We open registration to the public on December 1st, but I don't want anybody in my current classes to lose their spot in class. That's not cool. So we will have registration early for you guys. You will get an email. Here's that calendar again. This day right here with the star on it on the 17th. The goal is going to be the 17th. It might be the 18th, but sometime in this week, before we get to the blue dates on Thanksgiving, sometime in this last orange week, you will get an email from me that's like, hey, here's your early access link. And then you can sign up. Okay. Your link will only work for the class that you are currently enrolled in. So if you're in multimedia class, then like multimedia Tuesdays at 6, then that's the link that you will get. If you need a different one because you're like, hey, Allison, we need to switch to Thursdays, send me a message. As long as that Thursday class isn't full, I will send you the early link for that class. Now, if it's full, then we'll talk. Okay. There are still things that I can there are ways, but we're not going to get into it in the video because it's too confusing. But if you're like, hey, we really wanted to be in a Drawing 102 illustrative class because I know all you do, if that's the case, then I send you a multimedia link, but you would rather be in that class, you need to just reply to that email and then we'll go from there. Okay. Because I have to offer it to the people in the class first, but I can offer it to you after they've had a chance before we open it to the public. Cool. All right. Moving along. Last little note, holiday class. Oh, wait, one more thing. On the spring semester registration, there will be options for registration, like tuition payment stuff. There will be an option to pay monthly, which means you would pay your January tuition at the time you register. And then the next billing would be February 1st. You can pay for the entire semester, right? That's your studio club. You qualify for a t-shirt. You get half price birthday party. You get half price on all your camps. You get early registration for summer, all the things. Okay. I'm going to correct myself. It's not half price for camps. I'm not sure if that's what I said, but if it is, it's not half price for camps. It's 25% off camps. And then the other options, those are options that are available to anybody. But for you guys and you guys only who are registered for classes, in those early registration links, there will also be an option to just pay a deposit. And then there will be a payment plan from then on out. And if none of those options work for you because it's December, or not December, but November and Christmas time and crazy and at the end of the year and there's taxes and the economy and all things, if none of those work for you, send me a message. Okay? Because I know this is like the worst time of year to be doing this. I know. All right. And I don't want anyone to miss out on their art class because it's such terrible timing. So when you get those links, send me a message. Okay. Last little bit. Holiday camps and winter break mini camps right here. Those are opening tomorrow. So if you're like, I would love to come on a Saturday morning for a story time class with my kiddo, or I think there's an ornament making workshop, right? And there's a gingerbread house making workshop. And then there's not a lot. There's like 2 mini camps over winter break that we're doing. So those open tomorrow. You can find those on the special events page of the website. Just like to let you know. All right. I think that's it, you guys. All right. That was a good video. Lots of good stuff. We're going to talk about that Thanksgiving week every week from here until Thanksgiving. We're going to talk more about registration options in detail in the next video where there will actually be slides that'll break down the different registration options. So we'll continue to talk about them. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and I will talk to you soon.